Republican Speaker Jeff Fitzgerald said the budget bill was nothing less than what voters asked for.
This is about, actually answering the people that spoke on November 2nd and said, you know what, we want to change the way things are done in this state. Democrats hear the voices of a different set of voters.
Can you hear the voice of the people who elected you? They elected you. How can you not hear that?
We have you both now on statewide television. The citizens are listening and watching. Is there anything that you can offer each other to end this impasse?
No, I mean, they're dangerously close to misconduct in office is what's going on. There's no procedure in the state Senate that says you simply jump in a bus and drive to Illinois. What these 14 senators have done is basically ignored the Constitution, ignored the Senate rules, and are dangerously close to misconduct in office. That's what's going on. There is no provision that says you can deny quorum and shut down the government. That's what they are attempting to do. This is outrageous what they've done. There are no examples of this happening in the state Senate in the last 100 years. They have decided that they are in control. They have denied what happened in November during the election cycle. And they're dangerously close, I think, to ultimately finding themselves in legal trouble over just walking away from the state Senate, and their constituency should be outraged. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. What we're seeing right now is an attempt by 14 legislators to try and shut down Wisconsin government.
Let me go to Senator Taylor and ask you, Senator, what will it take now for you and the others to come back?
Well, I think one of the things that's really important is when 500,000 of the governor's constituents and counting continue to come and to say that they want to be heard, and more importantly, to say that he is overreached. People who have supported him, people who have voted conservative all of their life, said he's overreached, he's gone too far. This is not a budget repair bill. It doesn't meet the statutory requirements for a budget repair bill. It has a third of the items in it that are policy. They have no big contracts. They have where we're going to lose federal funding for transit. They have medical assistance, senior care, Badger care. All will then be unilaterally in a dictatorship kind of way where the governor and his secretary will be able to make decisions. If we had not brought light to some of the things that are in this bill, people would have never known. It would have been passed and signed and into law already.
So when are you coming home?
About the relationships with special interest groups. You know, I think that's a question you have to ask the governor, and that's a question you have to ask the majority leader, whether or not they're going to be willing to sit down and do something to address the fact that this is an overreaching. It changes 50 to 100 years of tradition that has existed in this state. We can balance the budget on the concessions that the unions have already done. This is strictly union busting. That's all it is. So this is strictly trying to deny workers their rights.
I know it. You know and I know it. You can't balance this budget on the concessions that the unions are willing to make right now. There's not a chance. If you don't make changes to collective bargaining and allow the flexibility for school boards, county boards, mayors throughout the state, they're never going to be able to survive the cuts that are coming in the governor's budget next week. You know that. Everyone knows that.
Scott,
this is
you know,
not
Scott,
just about that. I'll
you
tell
know,
you another
Scott.
thing. Last session, 48
You know, Scott,
hours,
well, the thing is I'd like to say something, but if we're not going to have a
Democrats
decent conversation, Frederica, what are we doing?
48 hours, Senator Taylor. That's what it took.
Frederica, are we going to have a decent conversation so that I can share with you?
Let's let billions of dollars. Do not lecture me about process.
Well, this is a joke, and this is
Let's go ahead and let Senator Fitzgerald finish, and Senator Taylor goes ahead.
Come back and do your job.
Senator Taylor, please go ahead.
I'm doing my job. I'm standing on the principle and the Constitution, and because of that, Wisconsin workers have had an opportunity to have a voice. And this is a reflection of why we can't come back. Because we have individuals in control who are completely disrespectful of the residents of Wisconsin. They don't believe they have to listen to them. They don't believe they have to give them an opportunity to be heard. And more importantly, I think when you look at what is in this bill and you look at the fact that this bill was done and it was
You are
done, and they
not
wanted to
representing
ram
your
it down the
district.
throats
I'd like
of
to cut in
Wisconsin
here.
workers. That's
How
why
many
people
roll
have
calls have you
thrown their
met?
hands up.
I would like
and
to
said,
cut in
enough
here,
is enough.
Senators.
And it is really sad.
I do not have a gavel, but I would still like
Please,
to cut
go
in
ahead.
and ask you, Senator Taylor. The governor tonight said he will be reaching out again this weekend to Senate Democrats, as he did last weekend to Senator Cullen. Will you be responsive to that call?
Well, you know, the governor has never responded to one of my calls yet. But if the governor reaches out to the Senate Democrats, we'd be happy to talk to him, Frederica. We've been asking for that since we've been here. We've been asking him to come to the table and listen to the Wisconsin workers and do what he asked to do, which was negotiate with them. I'm looking forward to him doing his job because we're standing on the only thing that exists, which is that 3/5 of senators need to be in the room. On the floor in order for fiscal bills to be voted on. And you know what the sad part is that they know doggone well
speak
I'm
to this.
sorry, Senator
May
Taylor.
I finish?
That is not a parliamentary procedure.
May I finish, Frederica?
It is
Because I
not.
had
You
not
know
had
it
a
and
chance
I
to
know
finish.
it.
Well,
What you're doing is ignoring
I
the
think it's really
Constitution,
sad.
ignoring your oath.
All right, we're talking over each
Wisconsinites
other,
get to
so I
see.
would like to jump in and ask yet another question of Senator Fitzgerald first, and that is, I understand
is it possible, Frederica?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Frederica. You had asked me a question I wasn't able to finish, but if it's possible that I could. But this is a reflection of why we have not been back, because Wisconsinites were not able to be heard. And I think the piece that's most important right now that individuals need to realize is you've been able to see, based on the Koch brothers call, that Wisconsinites are not the priority. It's special interests. And Senator Fitzgerald is showing you that today. He doesn't want to hear from the people.
For some time now. You're right. You're absolutely right. WEAC and the Teachers Union has funded your races and every other senator.
Come on.
You're absolutely accurate about that.
That's not true.
Senator Fitzgerald,
true.
I would like to interrupt this discussion.
Scott Fitzgerald knows that I stood up to the unions. I stood up to the unions in the education reform bill. So there are some things that could be different.
I need
but the
to
problem,
give Senator
but there are
Fitzgerald
some
the
things,
final word here,
there are
Senator
some
Taylor.
things that could be different, but the problem is that we need to make sure that we narrow those parameters, but we don't have to take
Senator
rights.
Fitzgerald.
Come back to the Senate and we'll debate it. Come back and do your job. Leave Chicago, get in the car, and drive back to the chamber, and we will debate this. And we will get the answers. That is the way we legislate in Wisconsin, not by
We need to
hiding
leave it there.
Both
of you, thank you for your participation. I'm sorry that it became kind of heated there, but thank you very much.